How are you? How are you doing? Welcome back to the channel. I'm in the backyard today because we're gonna do a little flying here with a new tiny whoop. Two, actually. I got a freestyle one and I got a racing one from BetaFpv. These are called the AIR. They're ultralight little tiny whoop, brushless tiny whoop. And I know some of you guys hate the brush version, but this one is brushless. It has a newly redesigned frame on it, a brand new flight controller that they're going to make available, they said, and a kind of interesting design on the canopy. It's kind of swooped around and looks like it has a different adjustment points on there as well. You kind of see those little slots. You can kind of bend this thing around to change the camera angle to however you want it. I thought that the flight performance out of both of these was a little bit different. Each one's a little bit different. They're almost impossible to tell apart. And I'll just try to hold both of them up, trying to film and hold the camera at the same, hold the drones at the same time. But here's the difference. One's super dirty. The freestyle one on my right, or your right, is the dirtier of the two, because I crashed and bashed the crap out of it doing freestyle. The racing one, if you notice, it has kind of thicker props on it. It has thicker core prop, also a little bit of spin on the blade itself. And the freestyle blade they're using is straighter with the bull nose and a thinner core. So that center core is thicker on the racing one. So it gives a little more bite on the racing one, gives you a little more speed. It does give you maybe a little bit less flight time because you're drawing more amps out of the battery. But interesting flight controller. It looks like it's kind of cut in half on the front of it. It's almost cut in half. So they reduce weight by doing that. And the motors on here are direct solder. At least mine are. So they're not plug and play type motors. If you burn out a motor, you're going to have to probably solder on a new one. But the tabs look decently big enough. You can see them there on the video. It's got room enough for the 1S 300 milliamp size battery. And these two are running ELRS. So probably my favorite out of the two, if I could pick one, would be the freestyle. And I want to experiment with the freestyle, maybe put the race motor, race propellers on this and see if it has a little more power at the bottom end of like something like a power loop. Because I feel like there was times when I didn't have enough power and I just kind of bottomed out, and that's not usually what we're looking for. We're looking for that extra power just to bring us back around out of that hard maneuver, especially for freestyle. So I would say it's about 80% good for freestyle, but it rocks compared to some of the other whoops that I've had on the channel. It definitely stands out from it. It reminds me of a Petrol on 2S 85 millimeter. So it reminds me of the Petrol, but in kind of a scaled down format. So that's pretty cool. They do have a bunch of different color canopies and all this stuff I'm going to show you after the flight test. This one's marked F on the back. This is the freestyle one. And again, that's the only way I could tell them apart was the propellers on here. Freestyle propellers being just a little thinner. But looks cool. And you can mod them how you want, customize them. Hopefully they'll give me the link to the flight controller as well. And yeah. I think we should go plug in one of those new batteries. They sent me 10 batteries, so we get to do a little bit of ripping with the freestyle one first, and then after that, I'll show you the racing one in the flight test. So kick back and enjoy the flight test. Here we go, guys.
Body, diamond, bronze, wanna be it, wanna feel it. Money, power, and big, 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 wanna be it, wanna
feel it, rage, power, weakest, force, money, driven, major, fraud, breathless, body, diamond, bones, wanna be it, wanna feel it, rage, power, weakest, force, money, driven, major, fraud, breathless, body, diamond, bones, wanna be it, wanna feel it.
Well, I'm poor, I'm broke, I'm living free. I ain't got a nickel or dime. I'm just living life in Tennessee, and I'm trying to catch a steamboat on time. Catch a steamboat on time, and I'm just a lonesome hobo, and there's nothing in the world for me, so I best just keep on moving, cause that's the way that life's gotta be. Well, I'm poor, I'm broke, I'm living free, I ain't got a nickel or dime, I'm just living life in Tennessee, and I'm trying to catch a steamboat on time.
Welcome back from the flight test, my friend. Now we get to check out both the AIR Freestyle and the Racing AIR series from BetaFpv. So this is all the gear that they sent me. They sent me 10 batteries, which is really nice of BetaFpv. They sent me 5 of the 300 milliamp batteries, which are here. They do have that BT 2.0 connector on them. They are HV as well, so you can charge them up to 4.35 volt, which is great. I'm getting like 4 to 5 minutes out of some of these batteries if I just cruise. If I'm doing hardcore freestyle, I could probably maybe squeeze out 3.5 minutes. These are the packs that you can get. These are the 5 packs. Looks like they almost have like a retail type of thing going on here with a little like QR or a barcode on the back. I did also kind of use BetaFpv's older style chargers. There's these kind of USB style ones and then the USB-C one, which also doubles as kind of a battery checker. You can plug it in there, but when you don't have it plugged into the power, it'll tell you what voltage the battery's at. And probably my favorite charger for Tiny Whoops right now is the V-Fly Whoop Store 3, which you guys have seen on my channel. You can power it from a USB-C, XT60, or a 12 volt input port right there, which is freaking sweet. It also does pH 2.0 and it does BT 2.0, so it will charge these BetaFpv batteries. Definitely my favorite one. A lot of times I take a 6S battery, just plug a 6S battery straight into this, and then get my batteries charging. And that's what I did for this review. So if we take a look at the racing version of it, again, it's almost impossible to tell the freestyle version and the racing one apart, but the big difference between both of these two quads is that this one has a higher kV motor on it. It does have a 27,000 kV motor on the racing version, and on the freestyle version sitting back there in the box, that one has 23,000 kV. So if you want kind of a lower kV setup, you can go for the freestyle version rather than the racing one. So that's just the main difference. The second difference is that they have a little wider cord prop on here on the racing version, and it has a little more kind of spiral to the overall prop design. It's got that reducted bullnose edge on this prop as well. And what I thought was pretty neat about the whole design was the canopy itself. It has these different adjustment points back here in the back and kind of slotted adjustments on the side here. I did try to play around with the front end of this and bend it back a bit and try to get into these different slots to kind of lower the camera angle, but it's pretty hard. It does come with a pretty high degree of tilt. I mean, look at that. That's probably about somewhere around 25 to 30 degrees tilt. But, you know, the thing about these type of cameras, these little cameras, they have a very wide field of view. So even if you tilt it down quite dramatically, you're still going to get a nice field of view at a full speed ahead type of throttle. So it doesn't really make that big of a difference when I do like micro adjustments on the camera. Now I do have a dipole in here. We've got 25 milliwatt VTX. It's built right down into the AIO flight controller, and apparently this is their new AIR flight controller that they're going to release. It has a little kind of harness back here for plugging in a cable harness to a USB-C port that can plug into Betaflight. So you can plug it into Betaflight, which is nice. They also have soldered on motors. They're not plug and play like we typically see. That would be kind of nice for some of you new guys, because if you get some cat hair in here, you know, your wife's hair from the around the house, things like that, eventually things can hair and things can cause problems in brushless motors. You know, you could have one burn out. You don't realize you have all this hair collecting on the bottom of the motor frame. So that's something that does happen. We also have 3 bolts on the bottom holding each of these motors in, and we have the BT 2.0 connector back here. We have a QC sticker, which is cool, and it's just big enough. I wish it would fit the larger size batteries in here. I have snipped these before and tried to get the larger battery and just run a larger 450, but for this size whoop, it's really not needed. I think 300 is the max that you want to go for these types of whoops. But I did see some different performance in both of these, and we can get into that. My biggest difference between the racing one that I have here and the freestyle one sitting back there was that this one almost needed to be in acro. It felt really weird in stability mode, like it was grabbing the wheel too much. Maybe the rates are too soft for the stability mode on this particular one. But once I opened this one up to full acro mode, that was when I started ripping around the yard. Probably some of the fastest little micro brushless tiny whoop flying I've done in this backyard. If you go back and look at that video, it's crazy how fast I was flying this little quad. And you know, durability is the next thing. So as far as durability, they're both pretty equal because it's pretty much exactly the same frame. There's no difference in the frame. The Freestyle is the dirtier of the two because I really pounded this one. I don't know how many times I crashed, and every time I crashed in really hard, it was one of those, you know, full-on high speed smack right into either concrete, like the side of the house, where there's a kind of a stone column at the front of our porch, or into a tree, or down through the trees. I crashed in both neighbors' yards with this. I went over the fence. Like, I was going everywhere with this thing, and every time that I walked back up to it thinking that something was going to be broke, I literally thought I was going to break the camera at one point, because I really nailed it super hard. And every time I walked back up to it, nothing was wrong with it. The most impressive thing to me, honestly, I don't know how many whoop reviews I've done in the past, but I've done a bunch, and I always have a problem with flying, even flying around the house. You guys have experienced this too. Like, 9 times out of 10, when you have a hard crash, you know, you come back up to your whoop and you're missing a prop, and then you got to go figure out, if you're in the grass, you usually can't find the prop. If you're indoors, you can, but you know, I didn't have a prop fly off of either of these drones in both of the flight tests. So that really says a lot about how well these props fit to the motor shafts. They really do fit on nice and tight. I pushed them down a couple times. Every once in a while when you're flying, you just kind of grab them by the motor base and the top with your thumb and press them down, and they'll kind of snap back down to the motor. I only did that once during my flight test with both of these, and the props stayed on. So that's really good news. But as far as like upgrades or custom colors and things like that, you can see back there they sent me 3 different frames. I got a pink, a green, and a blue frame. And then I also got a pack full of these different camera mounts. I think the black one's pretty cool. That would look pretty neat on the blue frame. I'd like to maybe even have a black frame would kind of be a nice option paired up with this black one. So maybe they make that by now. They gave us white, clear, pink, and green in here, but I wanted to show you close up this design because it's kind of cool. It sits kind of super flat, and when you put it on your frame, you're gonna bend it around like this, and you're gonna put the screw from the top down. So something like this when you install it into the frame. So that's kind of a neat design that they were able to do that. And then you got the front bolt mount right there, and then your adjustable mount in the very back, and the hole for your dipole here, and obviously camera here. But kind of a thought out, lightweight, progressive type of camera mount system. Now I want to show you this. It does say Meteor 65 AIR, so maybe that's the official name for it. But I'm just kind of calling it the AIR series because it just kind of sounds cool. But this is the frame itself without all the hardware and everything on it. It is just feather light. But one of the things about this frame that I like the most, and I don't know, maybe it's just the whole quad itself and the way it functions out in the wild, is that a lot of times with tiny whoops or brushless, micro brushless, anything that has ducks, a lot of times when you crash upside down in the grass, it is hard to go into turtle mode without catching stuff and burning up an ESC out in the yard. And a lot of times I want to be on a flat surface before I would do turtle mode. Sometimes even in the carpet, you have to be careful because you can grab a string of carpet or whatever and have one of the motors burn out. That's happened to me before. But while I was flying this frame around the yard, I did notice that as many times as I crashed, and I crashed a whole bunch, was that when I flipped over, whatever they have going on down here, the way all of this cradles the motor and keeps things sort of out of the prop area, it seems like these 6 little posts down here really do well once this flips over into the grass and gives it a nice lightweight unobstructed takeoff platform. So whenever I did turtle mode and I flipped back over, I was able to kind of juice it and get back off the ground. That to me seemed to stand out as far as this frame design goes. So I think they have something pretty cool going here with the bottom of this for being able to actively use turtle mode and it actually work out. In some of the hardest to relaunch places, I always got back off the ground. So my final impressions of everything that I've experienced with the AIR series from BetaFpv is positive because it survived the drone camp's experience flight test. And that says a lot because I'm not a great pilot and I crash a lot. I crash all over the place. I go hard and fast. I fly like my pants are on fire. I fly it like I stole it. I'm just one of those guys who flies faster to try to make the gap to just make that cool video. And these little quads are so crazy durable. They will power loop. They will fly around your yard probably faster than you've ever flown before. And you really won't know until you get one and you fly it for yourself and you decide for yourself, oh my God, Justin's right. I've been right before, guys. So, quote me on that. Go back and look at my best of videos and you'll see that a lot of those quads that I recommended ended up being community favorites. So I think as far as the tiny whoop category right now, these are going to be in the favorites of a lot of people. They're durable, they're fast, they're fun, they're cheap, and you can accessorize the crap out of them with a whole bunch of different colors, frames, and that's what people like. A lot of accessories, cheap price, fun factors like 5 out of 5. and you can use another type of charger if you want. Again, like the V5 Whoop Store 3 is my go-to, just because I can field charge with it. I can make it a bench charger, and I can storage charge my 1S batteries. There's not a lot of 1S storage charge chargers out there. The BetaFpv ones don't do storage charge, they only do charging. So that's my experience with this one, the AIR series. If you enjoyed this video, please do click like, because again, the YouTube algorithms like to put down the FPV videos these days. But I appreciate you for watching again and hanging out with me, as always, to check out what's new. This one was a lot of fun, and I gotta say again, like, congrats to BetaFpv for releasing the AIR series. I think it's going to be a community favorite. So again, I appreciate you. Please do click subscribe. If you're not a subscriber, just smash that subscribe button and join us for what we do all the time here, which is flying on our channel. Take care, everybody, and I will see you on the next one.